How could AMC and Frank Darabont take the original comic book and make even more of it? What on earth could there be left to say in such a wonderful and dark allegory of our day-to-day grind? Well, the way that I see they've found to is to add on another layer of allegory. And this is where I think the true brilliance of AMC's The Walking Dead comes in. Atop the already vicious condemnation of our society and our role in it on the micro level, Darabont and Kirkman chose to level a stinging critique right at the top tiers of American society. Now, to be clear, a lot of this is there in the comic books, but is made quite overt and obviously reaches a much larger audience with the TV series. I think perhaps Kirkman decided that he would like to up the political themes a little more and saw revisiting his work with AMC as an excellent opportunity to do so. The clue with the direction taken first occurs through visual iconography, specifically the posters advertising the first season. The image of a sheriff riding into town with a shotgun across his back. They plastered that all over the marketing of the first season. They put it on the front cover of the DVD. It's an image lifted straight from the comic books and one that is intimately familiar to the whole world as a symbol pretty much unique to the culture of the United States. And we all know how that story goes, right? So, they promised to take us on a zombie apocalypse with a uniquely American spin. The sheriff will ride into town and sort it all out. We had that mashup to look forward to. So, then Darabont and Kirkman drop us into their post-apocalypse, give us a slow-burning, very suspenseful piece with our main character literally a deputy sheriff, slowly acquiring the knowledge needed to resolve to head out into this world they've made for him. They deliberately delay gratifying the image from the promotions right up until about the last 10 minutes of the feature-length premiere. Then they give him the horse. Us the iconic scene of our sheriff riding into a deserted town. Shuffling figures emerge to peer at him as he makes his way down the eerily silent street. Only the sounds of his horse's tack jingling and the hooves clopping. Then suddenly, he's confronted by the gang that will be his antagonists in this story, and they literally eviscerate the central component of that ideology. What's a cowboy without his horse? This is not going to be that kind of story, folks. That's what they're telling us. Oh, now, what could that mean? What parallel are we to draw with contemporary American society here? Remember, that sequence is lifted directly from the comic series in every detail. So, where we need to be looking is not 2010, but 2003. In March of 2003, around the time Kirkman would have been writing issue 1, George Bush made an address to the nation, in which he declared, Saddam Hussein and his sons must leave Iraq within 48 hours. Their refusal to do so will result in military conflict commencing at a time of our choosing. In the wake of this, and during the lead up to the Second Iraq War, Bush was frequently compared to a cowboy, in the model of the old sheriff from old bad westerns who would ride into town with his posse and sort things out. Reuters published an article about his approach headlined High Noon for the Cowboy Era. Bush even courted the comparison. He was asked at a press conference if he considered Australia, my country, a deputy sheriff, to which he responded, No, we don't see it as a deputy sheriff. We see it as a sheriff. There's a difference. Yeah, thanks. Note the lack of distancing himself from the implied position of America as a full sheriff. And look, a lot of American citizens were on board with this image. Bush's popularity soared along this kind of commentary, with his increasingly aggressiveness and uncompromising posturing. The Second Iraq War is widely considered to have saved him from an embarrassing second-term defeat and ousting from the presidency. A wide swathe of Americans liked seeing themselves as the sheriff of the world. But as anyone who is at all politically aware could tell you back in 2003, the nature of international conflict had changed. And this war he was taking the country into was not in the same model as the engagements of past decades. Kirkman and Darabont and AMC are explicitly positing Rick Grimes and the other survivors as America in the emerging global conflict at the start of the millennium. Rick represents how America likes to see itself, and the authors are explicitly telling us, you are wrong. That's not how this story is going to go. But can this metaphor continue? Are there any other overt representatives in the cast of characters that comment on aspects of America's society in relation to the ongoing war on terror? Well, let's see. Sort of Arc 2 of the comic, Season 2 of the series, The Farm. What could Herschel and his family represent? Well, they're plain, wholesome folk. They exist within the Western genre as your sort of salt of the earth, plain-talking, honest, God-fearing folk meant to represent the general populace. I mean, Herschel is literally a farmer, on a farm, with his family around him. Well, what else is there about them? Well, the thing that differentiates them from Rick and his band of roving survivors is that they've been isolated from most of the fury of the apocalypse. They have their fences and the crick that kept them sheltered from the war. They are literally separated from those who've been doing the actual fighting by borders and bodies of water. And what is their journey? They refuse to accept the fact that their loved ones have been swept up in this war, that they have been lost. And it's only when they are forced to physically confront the bodies of their former family members that the reality of the situation finally hits home for them. Yeah, Herschel and his family are fairly transparently Middle America, the home front, keeping themselves to themselves and, to a large extent, pretending that the war isn't happening, or at the very least doesn't affect them, until it actually strikes the ones they love. But can we go on? Season 3. The major new character in this arc of the story is obviously the Governor. Well, he can't represent any part of America, can he? Let's see. An amoral sociopath who has accepted a title and position that has no actual validity either in the military or civilian society. Who has made himself powerful, rich and respected off the back of this zombie apocalypse. Who uses the zombies rather than fights them. He does. He uses them as guards. Weapons, populace control, even for entertainment. Who keeps a large number of people safe, housed, fed and gainfully employed, so long as they don't mind looking the other way to how he's using the situation and the zombies to do so. A figure who uses the new, endless, intractable nature of conflict to further his own ends. Yeah. The Governor is Boeing, Lockheed and GE. He is the military-industrial complex, quietly and comprehensively profiting and building his place in society off the back of the misery and destruction of the ending of our world and way of life. He actually uses the zombies in order to further his own ends. While in the meantime, our leader has thrown away even his own illusions of democracy, as he has found himself mired in an endless war against a faceless enemy that will not die. He's recognised his need to do things that his populace will not accept, and to keep those things secret from them when necessary. And ultimately he has found himself acting just like any other tribal warlord, in his desperate effort to find a way to return to the image of himself that he used to have.